just finished first day in pads. Really was not much different than the last couple of days, other than it was probably about 20 minutes or so, 20, 25 minutes of live. Didn't have the quarterbacks live yet. Probably have them go live on Thursday. But there was some live tackling, which should bring a certain level of intensity and also a certain level of true football. So I probably would have gone a little bit longer, but then I got mad at something and just made them run, made them run for 10 or 15 minutes and then ended practice.
So, Rich, once you get pads on, how long before you determine if they're as physical as you want to be? Do you have to get to scrimmages? Or?
Well, I hope it doesn't take a whole lot, but there was, and that wasn't the reason I got upset at the end, but there's way too many moments of softness. And I think sometimes, it's not everybody all the time, and it's not the same guy all the time, but it can't ever be allowed. And I just love sometimes that our guys don't even realize that they're being soft. You know what I mean? I don't want to say it's in their DNA. It's just their version of going hard, and ours hasn't quite measured up all the time.
When you say soft, is it not hitting people correctly, or is it not being the tempo?
Not all of the above. Just going hard, being physical. We don't tackle. We're not tackling low. We're not cup locking low. So everything's up high, and and I don't want cheap shots. Nothing like that. And the guys understand that, but there should be some collisions or some sounds of collisions. And up front, the O-line and D-line, sometimes look like they're tango dancing instead of playing football. And it's. I didn't eat a big breakfast because that's good, because there's certain things that might make you lose your breakfast. But I still like our guys. I like our team. I think they're very conscientious, and I think tomorrow I'm not going to change the scale. Tomorrow we'll be in shorts, but Thursday when we go full pads, I think it'll improve a notch, and then hopefully Saturday when we scrimmage, which Saturday is really when we got to get after it, we'll take another step.
Thing you try to do as the head coach to try to bring a little bit more of that physical toughness and aggressiveness out of them at this point, and can't?
You mean other than yell?
If that's what works.
Yeah, that's. I don't think I don't think you always have to yell. I do, but it's because that's kind of way I coach, I guess. But other coaches, they have to coach to their personality. You can get it. There's not one way to coach. I'm kind of loud, Other coaches are a little bit more cerebral, and that's fine as long as whatever you got to do to get results. And it wasn't like yelling the whole practice, but there are some moments where you almost have to overemphasize things, so not just that particular player, but all the players at that position or have that role understand it. The last thing you got to do, the guys understand this, we can't make the same mistakes tomorrow as we did today. Some of the things that are egregious, like in the football sense, not in the life sense, but some of the things that are egregious in the football sense, we really got to make a point out of, because everybody's got to understand that part of it, Like running the route at the wrong depth or something like that, you'll correct it, and hopefully they'll get corrected. But like if you run the wrong route because you're lazy and don't do a particular technique in that route because you're lazy, that is a different type of dynamic to get corrected, in my opinion.
Are the egregious errors, are they usually mental things? Like you said, just running at the wrong
time? They're usually, I think it's all mental, right? When you either didn't know what you're doing, which that to me is usually not the case, or you're too lazy to do it the right way. Typically, most of the things that get upset about is they take the easy way out. They take the lazy way out. We said that earlier. Everything, when it was a couple of days ago, everything's made for them to be easier. And so, unfortunately, sometimes they take that to the football sense, and they take the easy route in doing a technique, and when the hard way is the better way. But our guys, like I said, I think they're very conscientious. So I think the next day in pads, we'll be a little more physical up front. We'll be a little more attuned to the details when you're when you're going live to not be lazy in your techniques.
When you were describing your installation process, the kind of the 5 parts, 5 days deal, is that like intertwined? Run, some pass, and then the plays in there that have options off each other.
Yeah, but I'm always overly ambitious with our install. Like we had, this is what we want to get in, and inevitably we can't even do the things we wanted to do right in the first day. It's like, then I go back, it's like, why we got all these plays? All we got to do is run, 10 or 12 of them and run really good and have options off of them. So that'll be part of my discussions with the offensive staff. I mean, I'm there. I'm responsible for it. So I've got to make sure that we got enough plays to have success, but we got to be able to run those plays really, really good, and then we can branch out from there. We're not ready to branch yet, really.
When you started, you were probably practicing 2-3 times a day during camp, 6 hours. Obviously, you don't come close to that anymore. So how do you develop in camp without being on the field? So meeting room, that much more important? How does it work?
Yeah, I think there's no question. It's a little difference that the guys are here in the summer and we are able to spend time with them. So that's helped where you don't have to have multiple practices. But I also think in a way it hinders, like every coach, we used to have 2 days, 3 days. Guys, and you didn't have guys pulling a lot of muscles because, man, they was in shape. When I played over here as a freshman, I remember we walked 6 times from the Towers dormitory because you had walked over for the morning practice, then back, walked over for the afternoon practice and back, then you walked over for the evening practice and back. So you had 6 times you walked back and forth in three days. And, that's what everybody did back then. And so we didn't need cars because we were in shape. I would have took a ride, but we weren't allowed to take a ride. So, I'm not one of these guys that goes back and says, oh, look at the hard day, how hard it was back in the day and all that. These guys work hard and I got a great training staff. But I do think it's this commonplace. Now, here you are, getting me going on a rant again. I think it's just commonplace for guys to think more about other stuff than football. Well, there should be nothing else on their mind like during football camp than football. I mean, they're going home and, I don't know what our guys doing. They get a couple hours. They got a couple hours this afternoon. They're probably going home and watching somebody dance in their tights on TikTok in their locker room, probably. Or they're watching SpongeBob SquarePants, or, they might be playing video game football. Maybe that's the closest thing they got to football, but I don't know.
You're talking about the difference between when you were playing in 1984
Yeah.
and now. How about when you got here in 2001? Is it much different than that?
Yeah, I even think then there was less, I don't want to say less to do, but less options. There wasn't cell phones then. I don't think there wasn't cell phones. There wasn't video games. So even then it was not as difficult, but not nearly as much. And again, I'm an advocate. Like, look at our stuff, right? All the stuff we got in this building, and I'm an advocate for all these kids and the stuff we're doing for them and all that. But I do think part of my responsibility is to teach our guys to get up, put a great day's work in, and maybe, I don't know if you're going to outwork your opponent because everybody works hard, but have a sense of appreciation for their opportunity and work really, really hard to make the most of it. And then when they graduate or move on to whatever career they're going to have, they're going to outwork somebody in the same field so they can have success. That's kind of a pipe dream, but I also think there's some realistic goals with that.
My previous experiences with college football camp, it was very much, more.
Is that Aldous and Broadus football you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Like 7, 8 a.m. to midnight, pretty much full between meetings, lifting, practices. Do you still keep it that way, or do you give it?
Yesterday, we don't lift every day now during camp, but yesterday they met and lifted in the afternoon, and at night we had a walkthrough and meetings, and so they're here most of the day. But it's like, I'm sorry, it's not a grind, from 7 to 8, whatever. People say, oh, it's a grind. No, it's not like working 2 shifts in the coal mines back to back, or, being a police officer on call for 5 straight days, no break, or even somebody that comes in and works in maintenance for 8 straight hours. So they're not working 7 or 8 straight hours, you know what I mean? But I do think our guys have a pretty good work ethic. So I'm not saying that they don't have it. I'm just saying when we try to push them to up that, you know, it's foreign to a lot of them. And I want it to be not foreign to them from now until the rest of their careers. And I'll give a shout out to Pat McAfee. I mean, Pat's one of my guys, and Pat's hugely successful, you know, at everything he does. But Pat works his tail off now. I'm telling you, look at all the things he does. I mean, from 7 days a week all over the country. I mean, he's earned his success, and there's a lot of guys that have a similar story to that. And that's what me. And I'm saying Pat learned that from us, but you know, some of that mentality I think he got from here, and the rest of it he developed himself, and he's hugely successful because of it.
Do you have to teach that every off season, or the longer you're at a place, does that culture become ingrained and its players kind of
right? You hope that the longer they're with you, they actually help you teach that culture. You know, the veterans. Like right now, I guess there's a guy or two that came with us from Jack State that could maybe say they were a veteran in the system a couple years, but even those guys I had to get on a little bit. So you hope that helps grab those guys help the new guys coming in. So always the first year's always the hardest. You know, that's just common sense.
What will prove to you when you turn it up a notch?
When I ain't got to yell, I ain't got to blow my whistles much. When I ain't got to run them after practice, you know, it's oh, this was good, man. I feel good. You know, people say you like to yell. No, I like to win, and I shouldn't yell as much as I do, and I'll try to get better at that. But I can't make any promise. I would, like I said, if I'm doing this, you guys get me on a rant every day. If I'm doing the same rant a week from now, I'm gonna have some serious concerns.
Do you feel better about your offensive line depth at this point?
No. I don't feel better about any depth, but I don't feel better about anything. Does that answer your question? Other than the fact, I like my team, but I just don't feel better about where we're at. So we got time.
Like, what's your perception? How good are you normally in knowing what you have? Like last year, you thought you may have been a little bit better, and you lost your first 3. Are you normally pretty good at knowing what you are?
If I look back, and I keep my notes, if I look back, I think I got my notebook from last August. If I look back at my notebook from last August after practice 6, I probably had the same notes on there. Raquel would probably tell you she was there at every one of them. It was probably around the same spot. You know, a lot of new guys, a little frustration here and there, a little optimism, and that's kind of where we're at. Like I got a little frustration, I got some optimism, so I'm like, okay, that's probably where it was at the year before that, and probably in 2005 and 2003 and 2001, everywhere else.
Could you talk a little bit? Got news yesterday. Linebackers going to be added through the portal, and you were talking yesterday about potentially adding a running back or 2.
Yeah.
What's navigating the portal process during camp like?
Finding who's out there, if they're eligible, what the interest is, and do we want to try to bring them in now? So there's a bunch of guys in the portal, but there's a running back or 2. There might be an old lineman or 2 that we're looking at. And I've told my recruiting staff, just keep looking. You know, it's hard to add now. They'll be so far behind. But, you know, we have some concerns about depth at certain positions, and we got to make sure we're addressing it.
No specific names required, but does that mean you have some players that were on the roster to start camp?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to shoot you. No, and there's names. I mean, I know who they are, but there's until you will know if we add anybody, they're here. You know, I mean, it ain't like the possibility they're here. You know, you'll see them out practice.
Based on last year and some of the changes, you said you probably had to make, like going back and making sure that history doesn't repeat itself in preparation, right? You don't start 0-3. Are you applying? Are you applying any fixes?
We didn't play good, and some of it was who we played, and some of it was a lot of circumstances. Every circumstance is a little bit different, but again, I also want to make sure that the notes I wrote down. Hey, we probably should do this, try to do that. And I'm looking at those because again, I want to be better coming out of the gates, especially with not only a lot of new guys, but like almost no experience with returner starters. Even so, we got a couple guys, but that's about it. But that's actually makes, I think, camp more competitive, and to me, it's like for coaches, we don't have enough hours in a day, to watch all the film and evaluate, and so that makes it fun. I like, we're not bored, that's for sure.
How much unteaching do you have to do with 70-something players, and then?
Well, it's really
reteach?
not like unteaching or bad habits. So, like they just have different habits. Like sometimes a freshman quarterback, for instance, he's not going to have a different habit or different type of drop or different type of mindset on a certain route package than we do because he don't have any. He has, so, but high school kids are so much better coached nowadays, and these high school coaches do a great job. So young quarterbacks are pretty developed, but our things that we ask our quarterbacks to do are a little bit unique and different, and so it takes all of them a little while to get that. And I think they're getting there. I mean, I think our quarterback situation is going to be okay.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.